Hey there, it's Kurt at Trades here again, and I'm going to show you how to install a dash cam in your car. So right now I have my old dash cam here. I had an old Shark one. It's a pretty cheap one off Amazon, and it lasted me about 4 years or so, 4 or 5 years. And it actually just stopped working recently. It kind of glitches out when I turn it on. So I'm due for a new one, and I need to reroute the wire for it because it's a different one than the one that I have with my new dash cam. So I'm going to show you how to route the wire. And my car is a 2012 Impreza Sport, so if your car is an Impreza or a Crosstrek for the same years, they're pretty much the same car. But a lot of cars have really similar paths that you need to take to install a dash cam cable and to hide it. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to unplug my dash cam here, my old one. I'm going to take it off of this mount, and I'm actually going to have to take this mount completely off of the window because I'm going to put a different mount on because the new dash cam has a different mount. I'm going to take that off of there, and then you're going to want to clean the windshield really well before you put the new one on so that it sticks really well. And make sure when you're putting the new one on, it needs to be a relatively warm day out. I wouldn't do it below like 50 degrees or 60 degrees. You need to put your car in the sun so it can warm up a little bit before you put it on there. I do that. That way it will adhere better to the windshield. And if you need to clean the, if you need help getting this off, you can use Goo Gone. You can use a razor blade on glass. That's fine. Just be careful to make sure it's nice and flat when you're using it on there. But peel off most of the old stuff first, and then use a razor blade. And you can use Goo Gone or WD-40. Those will help to remove the old adhesive. This one has a little clip that hides the other wire going to my rear view mirror, and then mine actually just kind of almost fell out. For this car, you're going to have to take the speaker grill off. I used a thin piece of metal like this. You can use a trim removal tool or a really thin screwdriver if you have one. Basically what you're going to do is you're going to slide it down in these edges here, and it will pop some tabs, and then you're going to pull up, and you're going to do that on both sides here. And that will allow you to pull it up. And it just pops out pretty easy. On the other side to get it. There we go. And I think once you get the front off, you can just pull up straight up and it'll come off. It just kind of slides in the back like this and then pushes down, and you push it flat. For this trim piece here, there's two plastic tabs that go down in as well. There's one right here, one here, and again these are the same. You're just going to push in and out like that as you're pulling up. You can actually pull the other part of the trim off first, and you just kind of grab it and give it a good pull like that, and then that'll allow it to free up. And you cannot take it off until you get the clip that's inside of there. This clip in here, once you get it out, there's a little clip in there. It's a neon green one. You have to turn it 90 degrees to get it to release. Do not just yank on it because it will break the clip off. So you're gonna have to use your little, my fingers are kind of too fat. If you have skinny fingers, that's very helpful. But you're gonna have to reach in there and rotate it 90 degrees from the base here, and then you'll be able to pull it out. So I just rotated it. It's hard to see. I just rotate it, and then it pops out. So you can see it only fits out of that hole when it's turned 90 degrees. When it's turned back this way, it gets stuck in there. So you have to put it in and then turn it 90 degrees before it will come out. So I'll leave that like that so we can get it out when we're done on this piece. Kind of jimmy jangle that out. And that's your airbag. Be careful when you're doing this so you don't knock any wires loose or anything. There's also a little clip right here in the middle that you'll have to pull out. So this one will be on there. Mine isn't connected anymore because I didn't really want it there. But there is a clip here. This one you just have to yank out. Just gonna pop your screwdriver in here. Make sure it gets all the way to the back. And twist it a little bit. And you're gonna pull it. Make sure the yellow clips are in it when you go to put it back on, because if those yellow clips aren't in there, it won't pop back into place. So now that we got that out, and I actually wired this back behind here so I slid it along the side. This time I'm going to take this piece out and wire it all the way underneath here. And I didn't really like how I had this set up. It was kind of pinching the wires, and it just kind of looked kind of janky with it coming around the back under here. So I want to do it the right way this time. This time I'm going to put mine up on the other side over here, and you're going to want to make sure the lens where your camera is not behind the little bubbles here, like the shade bubbles. And so you're going to put it in place where you want it. You're going to get your backer on, ready to take off. This is some really sticky stuff. I could barely get it off. 3M's the way to go. Make sure it's right where you want it. I'm going to try and get this hidden up here as much as I can. And then this one you can adjust the camera. It's got a little swivel lens on it, so you can adjust it up or down as you need to. I recommend, if you can, start at the plug or start at the dash cam and run the wire back the other way. If there's a kink or a spot where you can't stuff the other end of the wire through, like on my old dash cam, it had this big clunky thing and I couldn't get it through the spot so that it would go into the compartment where my charger port was. I had to wire it, I had to do it the other way. I had to start from the charge port and go the other way, and I ended up having too much wire, so I had to jimmy it around afterwards, and that was kind of tricky to do. This little trim piece here has a little screw down at the bottom, Phillips screw. You're just going to take that off. I'd start at the top when you pull, and just like the other panels, you're just going to pull hard, straight back, and this one pops out. Again, make sure these yellow tabs are in it so you can put it when you put it back on, or else it won't stick in there. I found I'm going to have to go from where the plug is in here up towards the camera this way, because my plug on the end, the USB adapter, is too big to fit through, and where I have to put it down into is kind of a tricky spot to get to. So I'm going to do it the opposite direction. It's a little harder to get the length of your cable right, but usually you can tuck up a little extra into the headliner if you need to. So I have this little grabber tool, and I'm going to reach this up into here and get the wire, and then when you get where you want it, it has this little pull on it like this. What that does is that opens a little thing, a little grabber hand, to grab the wire, and I'll be able to pull it back out. You can buy these at any auto parts store. They're really cheap. I recommend getting one for when you lose your 10 mil. Not if, when. So you're going to put the wire up through, and you're going to snake this in and grab it. Okay, so you're going to have to stuff as much wire as you can. Then you're going to kind of have to bend this tool around to where you can kind of feel where it gets, and you're going to have to try and get a little lucky to grab it. It's kind of a tricky spot. See, these can bend, which is really nice. Make sure it's open, and if you see the wire move underneath, then you know you probably have it. Looks like I got it. I pulled it out. There we go. Then you can pull the rest out through that way. Once you finally snake your wire through, you're going to want to estimate, because I'm going the opposite way towards the dash cam, you're going to want to estimate kind of how much wire you're going to need to make it there. So kind of feed it through until you think you have enough, and give yourself just a little bit extra, because you'd rather have a little more than a little less. Just going to hold it here, hold it kind of where you feel like it's going to go through once you wire it up along. So I need about 2 or 3 more feet. So make a little bit more through, measure again, and that should get you to the point that you need to be at. Okay, now I'm going to snake it through. This is an airbag here. You want to watch out for your airbags that you don't cross over them. Same within the A-pillar, because if you cross over them when the airbag goes to blow, if the cord's going over it, the cord will prevent the airbag from inflating in that spot, and you obviously don't want that. I'm actually going to take this piece off too. And there's a hole here you can come right out of. This piece just pops off with a screw too. Get it right out here. Watch out for your holes where your trim piece will pop into. Make sure it's not covering those. I'm actually going to go, instead of going over this edge because it might pinch there, I'm going to go around this edge kind of in the crease. And up here, I'm just going to go, I'm just going to go up on top of the airbag the whole way up because there's a little piece that'll hold it. And then I'm going to tuck it up under the headliner here. You just kind of pull it back as you go. Got a little extra too, so you know right where it needs to be. Put your little trim piece back on, covering up your wires. This thing just slides, so you're going to hold the bottom end in, tuck them in, and that just tucks up under the headliner as well. Again, with these airbags, just make sure it doesn't cross over them, so it shouldn't be like this over the top. If you need to tuck it underneath, or actually you can just go all the way around the back side of them, which is the easiest way to do it. There's a little clip here you can tuck behind, and it'll just sit right in there. Got this here. Go back through there. And then I can, once I get all this back in, then I can kind of pull it up and down to make sure it's exactly where I want it to be. And again, everything just installs back the opposite way that it was in. So this just pops back in. This piece will just pop back in here. Maybe? Yeah. And make sure it's not pinching on anything. Like I just did. You can go out the back here. It's probably the easiest way to do it. There we go. Pop this piece back on. And these pieces are pretty easy to snap on and off, so don't feel like it's that big of a deal to do that if you need to. And again, you're going to want to get your couple pieces in down here at the bottom, kind of set where they are. And then you're going to want to do the clip up at the top. And it's got to be sideways. And you're going to have to turn it. You have to turn it the right way. You have to turn it 90 degrees so that the hook is facing down. If it's facing up, I don't believe it will work right. And that's there, and then it just kind of snaps in place. Snaps in on the bottom, back of the speaker wire down, and push down on the top. And then here is after you plug it in, you can tuck the rest of your wire back up into this hole here, and there's, on these cars, there's a hole already in here from the factory, which is where you'll tuck the wires up into. So that looks a lot better than it dangling around the edge and snaking down by your pedals when your feet and being unsafe. And again, it's barely hiding up there, so when you're driving you can barely see anything up there. Lastly, don't forget to put your SD card in and reformat your dash cam before you start. And every about month or so you should reformat your dash cam. I never knew that first time I got one, and so I just let it go for a long time. And after a while it stopped recording and I didn't realize it. And that's not something you want to have happen if you are in an accident, obviously. Can't recommend getting a dash cam enough. I will not drive a car without one. There's too many crazy people in the world. And people aren't honest about what happened. The police see two people arguing or saying they did it, I did it. They don't know. They'll mark it 50-50 and you'll be getting increased premiums. So they pay for themselves. One accident, they pay for themselves like 10 times over.